Let me be straight with you from the jump. You are getting ripped off. Every single week. And the frustrating part is, you probably already know something feels off. You just haven't figured out where the leak is yet. Most people in the prepping world are spending double, sometimes triple, what they need to spend on the exact same food. Same brands, same products, same shelf life, just a completely different price. I spent years doing it the dumb way. I would head to the usual big box stores, load up my cart, wince at the checkout, and tell myself it was worth it for the peace of mind. It was not. I was just bad at math and worse at strategy. 3 years ago, I stumbled into a completely different way of building a stockpile, and it has fundamentally changed what I'm able to prep for. The same budget now gets me roughly twice the food, sometimes more. I'm going to walk you through every single source I use, and I'm not holding anything back. These are real places, real strategies, and real savings numbers that I've personally verified. Some of these will surprise you. A couple might make you angry when you realize how long you've been leaving money on the table. That's fine. Channel that anger into shopping smarter starting today. Let's get into it. Source 1. Restaurant supply stores open to the public. This is the one that broke my brain when I first discovered it. There are restaurant supply stores that will let anyone walk in off the street and buy whatever they want. No business license, no special membership. Just show up, grab a cart, and prepare for your entire understanding of food pricing to get wrecked. I walked into one about 2 years ago for the first time since a long gap. 30 minutes later, I had 50 pounds of rice, 20 pounds of dried beans, massive containers of spices, and commercial olive oil sitting in my cart. The total was $83. I did a rough calculation in my head and realized the same exact haul would have run me over $200 at a normal grocery store. That's not a modest discount. That's more than 60% savings on a single trip. Here's the thing people don't understand about why restaurant supply stores are perfect for preppers. Every product in those stores is engineered for volume and durability. These aren't the flimsy consumer packages designed to look pretty on a shelf. The bags are heavy-duty, the containers are commercial grade, and everything is meant to sit in a storage room for extended periods without issues. That is literally the description of an ideal prepper supply. The spice situation alone is worth the trip. I bought a container of black pepper that was 10 times the size of what you'd find at a grocery store, and it cost less than the small grocery store bottle. Let that sink in for a second. During the pandemic, when every grocery store in the country had bare shelves and people were fighting over toilet paper, I walked into my local restaurant supply store, and it was completely stocked. The reason is counterintuitive, but makes perfect sense once you hear it. Restaurants were shut down, so the stores were desperate to move inventory. I bought 6 months of supplies that day, at prices I've never replicated anywhere else. My strategy for these stores: go on weekday mornings when deliveries happen, ask staff specifically what's being discontinued or overloaded, and check in monthly. One time I walked out with 100 pounds of perfectly good pasta for $20 because a restaurant chain had switched suppliers and the shape was no longer needed. 100 pounds of pasta for $20. That's not a typo. Find your nearest public access restaurant supply store and go this week. I'm serious. This single source has saved me over $5,000 across 3 years. Source 2. Ethnic grocery stores right after major holidays. This one I found completely by accident, and now I plan my entire shopping calendar around it. Every culture has major food-centric holidays. Before those holidays, specialty grocery stores load up with massive inventory to meet demand. Indian stores bring in mountains of basmati rice, lentils, and ghee before Diwali. Asian markets stock up heavily before Lunar New Year. Middle Eastern stores pack their shelves before Ramadan. The buying patterns are completely predictable, and so is what happens immediately afterward. They're stuck with overstock, and they need to move it fast. I wandered into an Indian grocery store the week after Diwali, 3 years ago. There were towers of high-quality aged basmati rice, marked down by 40%. I bought 200 pounds of rice that day for less money than it would have cost me to buy 50 pounds at a regular store. This was not budget rice. Indian customers demand exceptional quality. This was aromatic, aged basmati that cooks perfectly every time. The discounts are not always on signs. You often have to ask, and you have to build relationships with store owners. I now have owners at 3 different ethnic markets who call me when they need to move overstock. A Middle Eastern market owner called me last month about surplus canned chickpeas. I paid 30 cents per can for 100 cans. The normal grocery store price is $2 per can. That's a savings of $170 on one phone call. There's also a nutritional angle here that most preppers completely ignore. The standard prepper stockpile is rice, beans, and maybe some pasta. Boring, nutritionally incomplete, and demoralizing to eat long-term. Ethnic markets carry frike. Every lentil variety imaginable, dried mushrooms packed with nutrition, tahini, bulgur wheat, and dozens of other shelf-stable foods that have kept entire civilizations alive for thousands of years. Your stockpile should have some of this stuff. Mark these dates on your calendar. Post-Diwali in November, post-Lunar New Year in February, and post-Ramadan whenever it falls that year. Show up the week after with cash and a large cooler. Source 3. Bakery thrift stores. I know what you're thinking. Stale bread, cardboard texture, mold by Tuesday. Wrong on all counts. Major bread companies operate outlet stores, sometimes called thrift stores or bakery outlets, where they sell products that are near their sell-by date or have minor packaging damage. The product inside is completely fine. The prices are absurd in the best possible way. I found one near me 2 years ago, and it completely changed how I approach my bread budget. Loaves of bread for 50 cents. Tortilla packages for $1. Bagels, English muffins, hot dog buns, all at prices so low you'll feel like something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. They just need to move product quickly. Here's how this becomes a prepping strategy. Buy in bulk and freeze immediately. My chest freezer has a dedicated section for bread products. They freeze perfectly, come out tasting fresh, and cost me a fraction of regular store prices. My family of 4 spends about $15 a month on bread products. Most families spend $50 to $70. That's $400 to $600 a year going into other preps. The next level move is dehydrating the bread for true long-term storage. Dried bread cubes can be vacuum sealed and stored for months. Rehydrate them in soups, use them as stuffing base, or grind them into breadcrumbs. I tested this on a bug-out drill last year, and it worked better than expected. When you're adding bulk and calories to a pot of soup in a scenario where fresh bread isn't available, these dehydrated cubes are a legitimate resource. Around holidays, these stores often get seasonal overstock. I once bought 30 packages of hot dog buns the week after July 4th for $10 total. Froze them, used them over the next 6 months. Search for bakery outlets or bread thrift stores in your area and learn their restocking schedule. If this is already saving you money, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. More of this coming every week. Source 4. Business buying clubs. Yes, you can get in. This one requires a small upfront investment and about an afternoon of paperwork, but the return is so dramatic that I'm embarrassed it took me so long to do it. Business-only wholesale clubs. Places like Restaurant Depot have prices 30 to 50% lower than the consumer wholesale stores everyone already uses. The catch is you need a business membership. Most people hear that and assume it's out of reach. It is not. You can register a basic sole proprietorship in most states for under $50. You don't need employees, an office, customers, or actual revenue. You just need a business name and a tax ID. That's it. I registered a consulting business 5 years ago. It cost me $20 a year to maintain, and it pays for itself every single shopping trip. At Restaurant Depot, I buy 50-pound bags of flour for $12. That same quantity at a grocery store is $40. Gallon jugs of olive oil for $18 versus $60 at a regular store. Here's a recent trip breakdown. 50 pounds of pinto beans for $22. 25 pounds of white rice for $11. A case of 24 canned tomatoes for $16. 5 pounds of yeast for $14. Total, $90. Consumer store equivalent, over $250. On one shopping trip. The supply chain advantage is also real. Business supply stores serve restaurants that cannot afford to run out of core ingredients. Their stock levels stay higher and more consistent than consumer stores, especially during crises. Spend the afternoon, file the paperwork, pay the small fee, and get access to a completely different tier of pricing. Source 5. Damaged freight and salvage grocery stores. I stumbled into one of these about 40 minutes from my house and spent the first 5 minutes convinced something had to be wrong with everything on the shelves. There wasn't. Salvage grocery stores, also called bent and dent stores, buy pallets of food from major retailers where the outer packaging got damaged during shipping. The food itself is perfectly fine, but a grocery store can't put a box of pasta with a torn corner on their shelves next to pristine boxes, so they sell those pallets at a steep discount to salvage retailers. Dented cans of vegetables for 30 cents, torn pasta boxes for 50 cents, peanut butter with cracked labels for $2. Name brands, recent production dates, legitimate food. On my last trip, I found cases of canned chicken breast. The cans themselves were fine, but the cardboard case had water damage. 72 cans for $40. The same cans at a grocery store would run over $200. Now there are rules. Inspect everything. Side dents and bottom dents are usually cosmetic and totally safe. Dents on the seams or rims are a problem because they can compromise the seal. A swollen or bulging can goes straight in the trash. That's a potential botulism situation and not worth the risk for any price. Torn labels mean nothing. Cracked outer packaging means nothing. Learn the difference between cosmetic damage and structural damage. These places get fresh inventory constantly because shipping damage happens every day. I visit mine monthly and always find something useful. My entire canned goods supply has cost me roughly 40% of what most preppers have paid for theirs. Search for Benton Dent stores or salvage grocery stores in your area. Source 6. Food co-ops and bulk buying groups. This one changed my entire framework for thinking about food purchasing. And the community aspect turned out to be a massive, unexpected bonus. Food co-ops are groups of people who pool money and buy directly from distributors at wholesale prices, then divide the order, cutting out every layer of retail markup. A $25 a year membership to my local co-op gives me access to organic grains, dried fruits, nuts and beans at prices lower than conventional food at normal grocery stores. 25 pounds of organic brown rice for $18. At Whole Foods, that same rice is $60. 10 pounds of organic almonds for $35 versus $80 at a regular store. The quality is frequently superior because co-ops work directly with small farms and prioritize relationships over volume discounts. The community element is legitimately valuable for preppers. I've met other people with the same mindset through my co-op. We trade information, coordinate specialty purchases, and have started organizing group buys for items beyond what the co-op normally carries. Last year, a few of us split a half cow from a local farm. I ended up with 200 pounds of grass-fed beef for under $3 a pound. That price does not exist anywhere in retail. The co-op community created it. Find co-ops through local Facebook groups, farmers markets, or regional co-op directories. If one doesn't exist near you, consider starting one. 10 people, a distributor contact, one coordinated group order. If it works, keep doing it monthly. Source 7. Grocery store clearance sections, done correctly. Everyone knows grocery stores have clearance sections. Almost everyone uses them wrong. Most people wander past the clearance rack occasionally, grab something if it catches their eye, and move on. That's not a strategy. That's luck. Here's the actual strategy. Go to the same stores on the same day every week, because most stores mark down products on a consistent schedule. My local store does Wednesday mornings. I show up at 8 in the morning when they're putting out fresh clearance stickers. I hit the section before anyone else. Last week's haul from one Wednesday morning. 12 cans of organic black beans at 50 cents each, because they were 2 months from expiration. 6 jars of pasta sauce at $1 each. 10 boxes of pasta at 60 cents each. Spice containers at half price. Total $23 for a cart that would have been $70 at full price. Here's the critical prepper understanding on expiration dates that most people still don't have straight. Near expiration does not mean unsafe or even lower quality for shelf-stable foods. Canned goods are safe for years past their printed date, if storage conditions are reasonable. Dried pasta lasts indefinitely. Rice and beans last decades. That date stamped on the package is a freshness guideline set by the manufacturer for marketing purposes, not a safety cutoff. The pro move is using clearance as an opportunity to process and preserve. I once got 20 pounds of marked-down apples for $5, dehydrated them that same afternoon, and now have a supply of dried apple slices that will last years. Clearance meat goes into the pressure canner. Clearance vegetables get dehydrated or frozen immediately. Build relationships with store staff. Tell them you buy in bulk. One guy at my regular store texts me before they mark down seasonal overstock. That kind of relationship is worth more than any coupon app. Smash that like button and subscribe. Next week, I'm exposing the 3 preps that are a complete waste of money. Source 8. Online B2B wholesale marketplaces. This is where I've saved the most money over the last 2 years, and it's something most preppers have never even thought to look at. Business-to-business wholesale platforms like Webstar In-Store exist to serve commercial kitchens. Anyone can create an account. The prices are designed for restaurants operating on tight margins, so they're far below anything you'd find at a consumer store. I landed on the site while researching commercial kitchen tools and ended up spending 2 hours scrolling through their food inventory with my jaw on the floor. Restaurant-sized spice containers at the same price as a tiny grocery store bottle. 5-pound bags of yeast for $12. Cases of canned goods at wholesale rates. I ordered 24 cans of coconut milk for $18 shipped. The same quantity at a grocery store would be $50. My strategy is 4 large orders per year. I build a cart over several weeks, wait until I hit the free shipping threshold, and place one consolidated order. My last quarterly order was $300 and covered 50 pounds of rice, several cases of canned goods, bulk spices, oils, and dried beans. Consumer store equivalent, over $700. Here's the emergency preparedness bonus. B2B sites don't get panic bought during crises. During the pandemic, when every consumer site was sold out and Amazon was limiting purchases, I placed an order from a commercial wholesaler with zero issue. The shipping was slower than usual, but it arrived. A completely different supply chain protects you from the panic buying chaos that hits consumer stores hard. Also worth exploring Amazon business accounts, which unlock wholesale pricing tiers that regular Amazon accounts don't see. The difference on bulk food items can be significant. Source 9. Farmers markets at closing time. Timing is everything here, and the timing is simple. Show up 30 minutes before the market closes. Farmers don't want to pack their unsold inventory back into a truck and haul it home. Anything they don't sell is either waste or the hassle of bringing it back next week. In the final 30 minutes, they start cutting prices aggressively to clear their tables. I started doing this 2 years ago, and it's become a core part of my preservation strategy. My routine: show up at 1:30 for a 2 closing time. Walk the entire market with cash in hand. Ask every vendor what they want to move. Last month's haul: 20 pounds of tomatoes for $8. 15 pounds of apples for $5. A full basket of mixed peppers for $3. I took everything home and spent the afternoon canning salsa, dehydrating apple slices, and freezing the peppers. The processing time was about 3 hours. The savings were over $100 compared to grocery store prices. Cash matters. Vendors love it at the end of the day because there are no processing fees and it's immediate. When you pay cash, you often get the deal before you even finish asking for it. Build relationships with your regulars. I have a cucumber farmer who now saves me his unsold stock every Saturday at closing for $1 a pound. My pantry currently has 30 jars of pickles that cost me almost nothing. Ask about seconds, produce that looks imperfect but is completely fine to eat. A lot of farmers don't even display their seconds because typical customers want pretty produce. For canning and dehydrating, cosmetic perfection is completely irrelevant. Seconds run 50 to 70% cheaper than display produce, and the nutritional content is identical. Source 10. Strategic membership sharing at warehouse clubs. Look, I'll be straight with you. Some of what I'm about to describe pushes the boundaries of what warehouse clubs technically allow. But most of what I'll describe is completely within the rules, and the rest, let's say it's widely practiced. Costco and Sam's Club charge $60 plus per year for memberships. If you're splitting that with another household, you're already cutting the cost in half. Most memberships allow you to add one additional household member's card at no charge. Use that feature: 2 households sharing 1 membership, each with a physical card, each shopping regularly. That's a completely legitimate use. The actual prepping value of these memberships comes from buying discipline. Go once a month. Buy only bulk staples: 50-pound bags of rice, cases of canned goods, large containers of oats, peanut butter in quantity, and bulk spices. The per-unit cost is substantially lower than any regular grocery store. A 25-pound bag of flour at Costco is $8. The same at a grocery store is $25. The smart move is coordinating purchases with the people you share the membership with. Costco sells a lot of products in cases of 12 or 24. If you only need 6 cans, find someone to split the case. I do this with canned chicken regularly. A case of 12 cans for $18 split between 2 households is $9. That's 75 cents per can versus the $3 grocery store price. Source 11. Day-old programs at local bakeries. This one requires a bit of legwork to find, but the ongoing savings make it worth it. Small bakeries bake fresh every morning. Yesterday's baked goods need to move, and most bakeries would rather sell them at a steep discount than throw them out. A lot of bakeries have a quiet day-old section, or they'll sell to you directly if you ask. I found a local artisan bakery that sells day-old sourdough loaves for $1 each. Normal retail price is $6. I buy 10 at a time, freeze them, and my family eats genuinely excellent bread for months at a cost that is almost absurd. Bread freezes better than most people realize. Whole loaves freeze for up to 6 months, with essentially no quality loss. Slice before freezing for even easier use. For longer-term storage, slice the bread, dehydrate it completely, and it will keep for a year. Grind it into breadcrumbs. Cube it for stuffing. It's a versatile, calorie-dense, inexpensive resource when handled correctly. Here's a bonus strategy. Many bakeries donate all remaining unsold bread to food banks at the end of each day. If you volunteer at a food bank even one morning a week, you often get first access to those donations. I personally know preppers who volunteer one shift weekly and leave with 40 to 50 pounds of free bread every time. You're still here? Good. Subscribe, like, and drop a comment with which source you're trying first. Source 12. Loss leader shopping across multiple stores. This is the strategy that ties everything together and the one that requires the most discipline to execute properly. Loss leaders are the items grocery stores intentionally sell below cost to get you through the door. Their bet is that you'll buy a bunch of other stuff at full price while you're there, and they'll make up the margin. If you have discipline, you don't take that bet. You go in, buy only the loss leader items, and leave. Every single week, I pull up the digital flyers from every grocery store in my area. I go through them, identify the best loss leader prices on items I actually need, and build a multi-store shopping run. Last week, one store had chicken breast at $1.99 a pound, so I bought 40 pounds. Another had canned tomatoes at 50 cents per can, so I bought 50. A third had rice for 20 cents a pound, so I bought 100 pounds. That run took 3 hours and 5 stops. It saved me over $300 compared to buying everything at one store at normal prices. That's $100 per hour of extra effort. I'll take that trade every time. The tool that makes this work at scale is a price book, a simple notebook or spreadsheet where you track the lowest price you've ever seen for every item you regularly buy. When something hits that floor price, you buy as much as you can reasonably store. You don't wait, you don't debate, you just execute. That discipline compounds into massive annual savings. I've calculated that loss leader shopping alone, done consistently across a full year, saves me around $4,000. That's $4,000 that either goes into better preps or stays in my bank account. Both are good outcomes. Source 13. Overstock and liquidation auction sites. Most people don't know this world exists, and the ones who do know aren't talking about it. Liquidation sites like Bstock, Liquidation.com, and similar platforms sell pallets and lots of overstock goods that major retailers need to clear out. Food and household goods show up regularly. These are real products in working condition. They're just excess inventory that retailers sold to liquidators rather than holding. I've found cases of bottled water, pallets of canned goods, and large quantities of shelf-stable foods through these platforms. The key is knowing how to evaluate what you're bidding on. Read the manifest carefully. Understand what condition lots are listed in. Calculate your total landed cost, including shipping before you bid. Shipping on a heavy food pallet can be substantial, and can turn a good deal into a mediocre one if you don't account for it. The best categories for preppers on these platforms: canned goods, dry goods, bottled beverages, and household supplies. Avoid anything refrigeration dependent or with very short remaining shelf life unless you have a specific plan for processing it immediately. The savings potential is high, but so is the learning curve. Start with one small lot, understand the process, and scale up once you've got the hang of it. This isn't for a first-time buyer to go in blind on a large pallet, but for someone willing to spend a few hours learning the platform, the deals are genuine. Source 14. Gleaning programs and agricultural surplus networks. This one is almost off the radar entirely, and it produces some of the highest quality food you'll ever stockpile for an unbeatable price. Gleaning is the practice of harvesting food that would otherwise be left in a field after the main commercial harvest. Farmers often leave a significant percentage of their crop because it's not worth the labor cost to pick every last item. Gleaning networks connect volunteers with those fields and give them access to harvest what's left. I spent a Saturday last fall gleaning at an apple orchard. The main commercial harvest was done, and the farmer had no interest in the remaining fruit. 4 hours of work, and I came home with over 80 pounds of apples. Spent the rest of the weekend making applesauce, dehydrating slices, and pressing juice. Total cost outside of my time, essentially zero. Search for gleaning networks in your region. Many operate through food banks or agricultural extension programs. Some are informal and organized through local farming communities. The food is peak fresh because it's harvested the same day. The nutritional value is higher than anything that has been sitting in a distribution center, and the quantity available can be staggering. You do need preservation capability to make this work. A dehydrator, a pressure canner, and freezer space. Without those tools, you can't handle large quantities fast enough. But if you have the infrastructure, gleaning can produce hundreds of pounds of processed, preserved food per year for almost no money. Source 15. Direct from regional grain and flour mills. If you use any significant quantity of grain, flour, oats, or cornmeal, this source will change your math completely. Regional mills sell directly to individuals, and the prices are a fraction of what you pay at even the cheapest bulk retailer. I found a mill about 90 minutes from my home that sells 50-pound bags of hard red wheat for $18. The same quantity of comparable wheat berries from an online prepper supply retailer runs $65 to $80. I'm getting it for less than a quarter of the prepper store price. Whole wheat berries are also a superior long-term storage item compared to pre-ground flour. Wheat berries stored in oxygen-free conditions last 25 to 30 years. Pre-ground flour loses quality in months. If you own or can access a grain mill, buying wheat berries directly from a regional mill is one of the most cost-effective and nutritionally complete stockpile moves you can make. To find regional mills, search for flour mills or grain mills in your state, plus the words direct sales or farm store. Call ahead to confirm they sell to individuals, and ask about minimum order quantities. Most mills will also give you a tour and explain their product line, which is useful for understanding exactly what you're buying. A 90-minute drive a few times a year is completely worth it when the savings are this significant. I combine my mill runs with other rural stops, a farm store, a produce auction if one runs locally, and sometimes a bulk food store to make the drive worthwhile. Like this video, leave a comment below with which source blew your mind. And subscribe for more. The bottom line, here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The prepping community has developed a deeply ingrained habit of shopping at a small set of familiar stores and accepting whatever prices those stores charge. Those prices are not the lowest available. They are often not even close to the lowest available. The entire infrastructure we've been told to depend on, the big box stores, the specialty prepper retailers, the online emergency food companies, charges a massive premium because they know their customers will pay it out of habit, loyalty, or simple lack of awareness. Everything I've covered here is available to anyone willing to put in a small amount of effort. Register a simple business. Learn when your local ethnic markets have holiday overstock. Show up at a farmer's market 30 minutes before closing. Find the Benton Dent store 40 minutes away. Place 4 big quarterly orders from a commercial wholesale site instead of dozens of small retail purchases. None of this requires special skills, unusual resources, or a large upfront investment. It just requires thinking differently from the majority of preppers who shop the same way. At the same stores, every week, I built my current stockpile, which represents over a year of food security for my family, for roughly half of what it would have cost using conventional prepper shopping habits. Half. That's not a modest improvement. That's the difference between a stockpile and no stockpile for people working with a limited budget. Pick 2 or 3 of these sources and start with them this week. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. Just add 1 new source per month, until all of them are part of your regular routine. The compounding savings will surprise you, and if this opened your eyes to how much money you've been leaving on the table, good. That frustration is useful. Let it drive you to shop smarter. Like the video, leave a comment telling me which source you're going to try first, and subscribe so you don't miss next week's breakdown of the 3 most overrated preps that everyone keeps buying and almost nobody actually needs.